Michael, we don't know what they're talking about.
No, not at all. We're not really sure here, folks. We're going to get some information for you as soon as we can find out. But clearly, the game right now is a little bit of a delay.
And fans, due to unforeseen circumstances, the game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe. And take your time in leaving the arena tonight and do so in an orderly fashion. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are all safe.
For most people, this was how it started. A basketball game that was over before it began. And over the next few days, it would snowball into the apocalypse. In all seriousness, COVID fucked up a lot of shit, including live sports, which in a dystopian-style future would find their way back in empty arenas. This included NBA basketball, which would make a comeback in the form of a 2-month playoff, played at the Walt Disney World Resort in the infamous NBA bubble. Said every non-Lakers fan who had to watch LeBron James collect his 4th NBA ring. Now don't get it twisted, the Lakers were solid all year, but the extraneous circumstances gave the opposition a scapegoat. No, they cried. The teams got too much time to unwind, the stadium had no distractions, the other teams couldn't score on a prostitute, I'm on Twitter and everything sucks. Blech. This led many fans to dub the 2020 Lakers as Mickey Mouse champions, a moniker that would find its way to every sport, including NASCAR, where despite winning 4 less races and netting 136 less points, Chase Elliott would beat Kevin Harvick in the championship. Now say what you will about the playoffs' legitimacy or a fantasy world where they never existed, but as for the real world, this is what we got. And the fact is that while Harvick couldn't hack it, Elliott emerged victorious. No, Chase Elliott is no Mickey Mouse. In fact, he's become a perennial favorite for the championship. For if that title were going to anyone, it would have to be someone more deserving. Someone who hasn't just Mickeyed their way into 1 or 2 wins, but rather every win they've ever gotten. For if there was ever a nomination for the Mickeyest Mouse in NASCAR, it would no doubt go to this guy.
Hey, I'm Austin Dillon. If you like what you just saw and want to see more highlights from the show, click the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.
His story is well known. As the grandson of Richard Childress, he was born into stock car racing, and given time, he would go on to take the family number as well, being the first to drive it in a NASCAR series since Dale Jr. in 2002. He would drive it to a Truck Series championship in 2011 and an Xfinity Series championship in 2013, and by then he had already made a few Cup starts. A spot on Sunday was sure to come. But he had to take another number. Surely after all this time they wouldn't bring back the number 3. Shit! Well, if anyone's gonna drive it, it might as well run in the family. But this immediately put tons of pressure on the young Dillon, who'd be stepping into one of the most revered cars in racing history. And unfortunately, his first few years didn't live up to the hype. Although he did show some improvement in his junior year, the team as a whole didn't have winning form, and it would take some major swings for the fences to put the number 3 back in victory lane. By 2017, Toyota had proven themselves as the class of the field. They might have been slim in numbers, but with Joe Gibbs and Furniture Row under their blanket, they were completely indomitable. And this rang true for the Coca-Cola 600. The previous year, Martin Truex had shattered the record for most miles led in a NASCAR race. And having led 306 of the 400 laps tonight, and having locked out the top 5 at the end of Stage 3, it was a foregone conclusion that a Toyota would be winning this race. But therein lies the magic of pit strategy. With 67 to go, most of the field came down for their penultimate stops, putting them about 5 laps short of making it on fuel. But with the possibility of victory right in front of their faces, 8 teams tried to go the distance, and one by one they'd be forced to concede, leaving just 2 contenders to fight it out. Jimmie Johnson had all but owned this place throughout the majority of his career, picking up 12 wins and for a while carrying their namesake sponsor. He also had one of the best crew chiefs in the business, but tonight Chad Knaus's math is just a little bit off, and with less than 2 laps to go, he's forced to give way to the Stars and Stripes. Justin Alexander's in his first year as crew chief for the number 3, but he's on a team that's become synonymous with winning pit strategy. And with the hard-charging Toyotas of Kyle Busch and Martin Truex making up a second per lap, he, along with everyone else in attendance, wait for Dillon to slow. But he never does. He stretched the fuel perfectly, even having enough to give the fans a little burnout.
Hey, we are partying tonight!
In the end, the Toyotas finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, and 11th, but they couldn't beat the America-mobile. And in his 4th full-time season, Austin Dillon would finally bring the number 3 back to Cup Series victory lane. So what does it take to be a Mickey Mouse? Well, it's kind of like not studying for a quiz and still getting an A. Sure, you won the prize, but does it really mean all that much? Well, for most of us just trying to pass the class, we don't really give a shit. But as for a motorsport that's intrinsic to American culture, yeah, it carries a bit more weight, and people were quick to call him on it. All he did was lead 2 laps, far from a deserving victory. Well, to Dillon it didn't matter, as he would snatch a playoff spot from the likes of Joey Logano, Clint Bowyer, and Dale Jr., only to make a hasty exit in the first round. And it wouldn't take long for the naysayers to come crashing down again, as they were forced to bear witness to another unusual finish in another crown jewel race. Today's a big day for the 3, not just because it's the Daytona 500, but also 20 years since they scored arguably the most celebrated win in NASCAR history. They've run well all throughout speed weeks, but as the race gets underway, Dillon sifts to the back. An alarming sight initially, but one that's a blessing in disguise, as he would manage to avoid all 3 big ones and with just 2 laps to go, position himself in 4th. His only obstacle is Aric Almirola, running his first race for Stewart-Haas and looking for his own storybook win. And at the white flag, he leads the field with a 2-car length lead. But if there's ever been any certainty at Daytona, it's that leads don't last. With a push from Bubba Wallace, Dillon finds himself with a monster run heading into turn 3. But with Hamlin on the inside, he's hesitant to dive low. But he can't just push the 10 to victory, so instead, he goes with option number 3.
Oh, into Almirola! Around he goes! Good.
Hang on to it, bud. Hang on to it.
Did he have to drive right through him? No. Was he being crowded from behind? No. Could he have gone low and made a clean pass? Probably, but that's not what happened. He just spun him out, and if you were to ask him, he'd probably say that he didn't mean to wreck him. He just wanted to... Besides, even the most cynical of fans have to admit, seeing the 3 back in Daytona victory lane 20 years later was pretty damn cool. And it would gift Dillon with another playoff berth, where once again he would make a hasty exit in the first round. But let's back up for a second. In a topsy-turvy all-star weekend that saw 150-mile-per-hour pit speeds and Matt Kenseth getting the pole in the Roush number 6, NASCAR tested out a litany of new rule changes that included an engine with restricted horsepower. The first time restrictor plates had been used on anything other than a superspeedway. The race itself was an absolute hit, receiving tremendous praise from the fans, which would push NASCAR into implementing a similar package the following year. But as the season got underway, people began to notice a frustrating trend. You could follow in a car's tire tracks and run them down from 5, 10, even 20 car lengths back. But that was it. The moment you move out of line to make a pass, boom, drag. And as the leader, all you really had to do was hold your line and mash the gas. A strat that was exploited time and time again by all manner of drivers, including, well, you probably know by now. At a redesigned Texas that had already worn out its welcome, the fans were treated to a surprisingly action-packed race, and as the laps whittled down, it looked like it would come down to Kevin Harvick or Joey Logano. That is until Quinn Houff tried to pit from the second lane.
What are you doing out there? What a dipstick move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You're not the sharpest knife in the drawer, are you?
This would lead to one last round of pit stops, where Dillon took 2 tires and his teammate Tyler Reddick took none. They would line up side by side on the restart, and in a move that still bewilders me to this day, Reddick chose the outside lane, giving his teammate the shorter way around the first corner. Tyler put up a decent fight, but once he got past, it was pretty much over. And despite 2 more cautions and desperate attempts from Harvick, Logano, and Busch, nobody could find their way around the 8, who played blocker for the 3 and allowed him to pick up his 3rd career win. But I can hear your comments now. He completed all the laps and he finished them before anyone else. What about that, says Mickey Mouse? It's not like the field just pulled over and gave it to him. Thankfully, come 2022, NASCAR would ditch the old package entirely, bringing high speeds and horsepower back to the intermediates. And it paid off with some of the best racing we've seen in years. More teams found themselves with a shot to win, and by the time of the cutoff race at Daytona, 15 drivers had already found victory lane, leaving just 2 spots left in the playoffs. The original occupants of said spots would find themselves in separate but equally devastating crashes, leaving the door wide open for another new winner to continue the trend. Austin Dillon, on the other hand, was bringing up the rear, and entering turn 1, he was all the way back in 16th. But at this very moment, if you had an abnormally big yawn, say about 10 seconds, you would open your eyes to see him exiting 2 in the lead. Does that mean...
Oh my goodness!
Yep, this is about as Mickey Mouse as it gets. It started raining the lap before, and by the time the officials noticed, it was too late, and the Red Sea would part for Moses, who found himself as the sole escapee of this historic wreck. All in all, only 10 of the 37 starters would finish on the lead lap, leaving Dillon to fend off some not-so-competitive competition. His only serious threat was defending Daytona winner Austin Cindric, and like 2018, instead of going around him, he just went straight through him. And like 2020, he now had his teammate playing blocker, and in a perfect storm of circumstance, Austin Dillon would get his 4th career win, leading to another playoff berth where, say it with me now, he would make a hasty exit in the first round.
All right, I get it!
So, a fuel mileage win, a dump and run, a muddled motor, and a literal gift from God? Safe to say we've found NASCAR's Mickeyest mouse.
He said it! He said it!
So that's it, right? He doesn't deserve his wins. Does he really deserve a spot in NASCAR? Well, yes, absolutely. Never mind the fact that plenty of other drivers have backed into their wins just the same. He's a proven champion in both of the lower series. But if you really need an example of his cup-worthy prowess, let's make one more stop in 2020.
Oh, no, you can't! I won't do it! I won't do it! You can't play me!
It's the second race of the first round, and we're in a time without qualifying, where starting spots are decided by points, lap times, and finishing results from the previous race. And thanks to Truex not knowing he still had 15 laps to pass Elliott, Dillon found himself in second, one spot shy of a fifth Mickey Mouse win. This gave him a third-place starting spot at Richmond, and while he's sitting prettier than ever before, we've seen how this goes. This is where he falters. Only once has he made it past the first round, and that's only because of Ganassi making better pipe bombs than motors. Nobody had him going far, and his fans were gearing up for another first-round exit. But as the race got underway, he didn't just stay put, he battled for third, for second, and eventually for the lead. He finished both stages in second place and stayed in the top 3 for most of the night, finally showing what his grandfather already knew, that he has what it takes to be competitive, to win a race on pace. But then,
like the NASCAR playoffs, as Austin Dillon tries to come to pit road there, but misses it, slows down and misses pit road, guys.
It seems ironic. A guy whose entire resume is built on inexplicable circumstances finally proves himself to be the class of the field, only to lose it on a pit entry. Still, he was able to salvage 4th place, giving him enough points to make the next round handily. And while he has yet to replicate that kind of performance, it was still one hell of a showing. One that, in my eyes, cemented his place as a Cup Series driver and a Cup Series winner.
Not bad for Mickey Mouse, right?
Mickey Mouse!